Greetings, I'm Jir Anderson. I'm a singer-songwriter guitarist from the Pueblo lands of New Mexico, and I'm your host this evening with Native Guitars Tour Behind the Mask. Every Thursday, Native Guitars Tour brings you exhilarating live interviews with today's top Native artists. We bring to you the genre of music Native Americana, contemporary music from the indigenous people of America who tell their stories in modern styles of music, from blues to rock, jazz to metal, and punk to hip-hop. Tune in each week as these musical superheroes take off their mask for a one-on-one, safe, social distance interview. Tonight on Behind the Mask, we have a Choctaw singer-songwriter bringing us some rebel folk. Live from Taos, New Mexico, ladies and gentlemen, Garry Blackchild. There it goes. I can hear you ready.
Am I back? You know what happened, everybody? Like, my mom called, and I told my mom, I was like, Mom, at 8, I'm going on at 8 on Native Guitars Tour, and guess what? My mom called. But, you know, these days, when your mom calls, you just gotta, like, you never know what's gonna happen. You gotta answer that phone. It's my mom.
Yeah, my mom always calls during the show, and it screws up my audio, and I'm just like, oh, well.
Mom, what are you doing? And I'm like, Mom, I'm doing like an online video. She's like, a music video? I was like, yeah, a music video. And she was like, cool.
Continue your story. You were telling us a little bit about you.
Long story short, I'm from Pasadena, Los Angeles, California. Came out to New Mexico 16, 17 years ago with my daughters who were babies at the time and their mother. We were escaping LA. LA was just beginning to get gentrified. I was starting my career as a solo artist. I was beginning to identify with my Native American Black self, and boom, the rest is history. Here I am.
Wow.
Here I am. And, living in Taos, New Mexico. I mean, Jer, when I met you, we started in Rio Rancho because we didn't know any better. We lived out in Rio Rancho because we got like a 3-bedroom house at the time for $750 a month. And we were like, okay. We have 2 babies. Our daughters were like, 4 and 2 years old at the time. So it's like we did what we had to do.
Yeah.
And it was the best thing we ever did, creating music here ever since and traveling all around the state, meeting all pretty much. I've met somebody from every pueblo in this state, which is pretty cool.
I think New Mexico just was like this from day one with you, the arms open. And
yeah.
It was like, come on in.
They're like, bro, are you hungry? Bro, you got a place to sleep tonight? What? Hey, bro, like, we got you. Because when I came here, I was hurting. I was a young dad. I was a little bit lost. And this place really just took me in.
You are a genuine great person. You're just one of those people when you meet, even if it's just for a few seconds, you right away feel that genuine, that goodness. And that's just something that you have. And I think that's why people are so welcoming to you. So
thanks, sir. But you can ask a couple of ladies around New Mexico, and they might beg to differ with you about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about Española girls here in a little bit, but COVID. It's almost been a year. How has this impacted your music, and what do you do for your self-care, for your wellness, your mental health, your physical health?
That's a great question. It's nature, like spending time outside. I am such like an introvert, I can bury myself in this cool studio and I can get some beers and drink the day away and get lost. And you know what? I find that like that just kind of takes me down. So I think that my biggest medicine during COVID is being able to live in Taos, and I can go 5 miles that way and I'm on a trail. I can go 7 miles that way, I'm on a trail. I can go 1.5 miles that way and I'm on a trail. And it's just like the outdoors, like really communing. And I'm not trying to sound like no new age hippie. I'm really talking about just like connecting with earth, like literally just even taking a walk around the block. And it's wintertime, it's cold, but even just getting outside has been my number one thing during COVID. We're really lucky to live in New Mexico because we have so many places that we can go and be away from people, but still like be in a vibe, Yeah. There's a lot of places here that like hold a lot of energy, and it's just really cool to live here. And, you know, I live right off of Taos Pueblo, like the acequia behind the window, behind that flag. On the other side of that acequia is Taos Pueblo. Out of respect, you know, I don't cross over there because, you know, we're trying to protect our elders, and I respect that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's fine. You know, like there's so many places that you can still get out towards, you know, out. The other day I was at the gas station and there were some tourists bribing me. They thought I would, they're like, "Hey, are you from here?" And I was like, yeah. And they're like, "Are you Taos Pueblo?" I was like, "No, no." And they're like, "Can you get us onto the reservation?" And I was like, "No, hell no." And then they literally offered me a couple $100 to get them onto the res. And then I got kind of pissed off. I was like, you have no idea. Like, obviously, you people are really disconnected and you have no idea what is going on right now. So, like, those are my feelings. Like, I wear a mask out of respect for the elders that live right behind me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether my own views on this thing are different, and, you know, half of me believes in science, half of the other half believes in conspiracy theories. The reality is this is taking people out, and it's taking our elders out. And the least that we can do is show some respect, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, I get the behind the mask because, yeah, this is me behind the mask. But when I'm cruising around, and if I'm going to, you know, be around, you know, other people, I have no problem throwing it on if it's going to help, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's a good message to send, because you are a role model. You know, people do look at you, they see what you're doing, and, you know, hearing that, because a lot of the videos that you shoot and you post are outside, and, you know, you're not wearing a mask, but you're by yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And that's,
yeah.
I think it's good.
And the crew is like 30, they're like 30 feet from me. They're like all zoomed in because, you know, we're living in those times and it's okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think it's really important to, it comes down to just being respectful. Whether or not you believe that the mask is helping or not helping, that's your opinion. You have the right to have your own opinions, you know. But when you're here in native country and you look at the numbers and you see how many of the elders are really being affected by this, and just native people in general, and black people, it's like just I do it out of respect for my culture, you know? Yeah, it's just like shit, you know, Jerry, you know it. You're Pueblo. I'm black and Choctaw and Central American. It's like they've been trying to take us out since day one. You know what I mean? Since they got over here, you know, or since they took me from Africa, or like whatever way you want to look at it. So it's just like whatever I can do to keep them older folks alive, because it's important, because they like keep the stories. They have like information that you can't find online. They have stories that you can't find in a book. I feel like, okay, I'll put on a mask for that.
Yeah.
You know, to hear that story. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, because, you know, I really respect that. I mean, and that's the reality of it, right? Because our native has always been, the oral tradition has been how we communicate our history, you know, where we come from. We have petroglyphs that we also use as communication. You know, but so it just goes to show that you don't need a textbook to discover who you are and where you come from, you know? I love this conversation so far. And it's really great to see you, man. I really missed you.
I miss you so much, and I'm so happy you're well. And, you know, like, if we had the same conversation maybe like 7 months ago, I might have felt differently at that time about it. But you know what? I just, we're living in this reality, and whether or not, you know, I don't know, you know, we all get our information from different sources, social media. You know, you think you follow NPR or CBS or Fox News, whatever. And we're all getting this information from these sources that come from a satellite that are run by men and women. But sometimes, like, you get your best information by just tapping into like the earth beneath you and where you're at. If you disconnect from it, you know, you turn off your phone, you know, you turn off the internet and you go on a walk. I feel like sometimes you got to get information like that as well.
Yeah.
And the news doesn't tell you that, you know? They're like, watch our channel. You'll get all the information you need. You'll get the weather. You'll get sports. You'll get this and that. But I'm like, you know, sometimes you just got to like take a walk, you know, on that hill that you see and get some information, you know?
Yeah. I'm right there with you, brother. I mean, you know, our life at best, right, is maybe 100 years if you're lucky, and that's really like just minuscule time to be here, and you just gotta like live and observe and take it all in. Before we get any further, any way you can play us something?
Hell yeah. All right, this one's called Our Drunken Love. So I wrote this song. This is like my best version of a bluegrass song. And I was listening to like a lot of Ralph Stanley. And I was like, man, the lyrics weren't agreeing with me, so I started listening to some 2 Chainz. And then the lyrics came. 3 dancing lights stood before me as I held hands with my love. Can you reach world howling embers while we danced above? I used to dance all night by the fire, barefoot floors of earth and wood. The kitchen smell of earth and cider. Your naked body never looked so good. Right now there'd be like a violin and banjo solo, so imagine it. A minor to the, so it's like A minor to the G. You got it, Jer. We ready? To the chorus. There are roads across the canyon, 3 bright lines down by and by. Our drunken love could not imagine our drunken love back to that bar.
And I'll make you laugh.
That's a sneak peek at one of. Ooh, that's sexy, man. I like that.
That was great, man. I didn't mean to cut you off or anything. I was just jamming in the background.
I wanted to make sure the sound was still going because my mom called again. In the middle of the song, my mom was, and I was like, oh no, nobody can hear me again.
No, we can definitely hear you. It sounded great, you know. I really, for people, if you haven't seen Garry perform live, it's just really amazing watching you perform. You know, I pick up a lot off of you, and I learn a lot of stuff off of you on your.
Same to you. I've been watching you perform for 10 years, man.